Hey guys, welcome to Refundo's YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking all about cybersecurity. Now, this is the setting for the Marketing for Tax Professionals podcast, but just know that we're also thinking about bringing in a lot of more other topics like cybersecurity, operations, and growth into our YouTube channel. So we wanted to start today with the very important topic of cybersecurity, especially as tax season is coming up. And today I have with me two very special people at Refundo.
Teresa Fransky, Chief of Cybersecurity.
Herman Torres, software engineer.
Awesome. And I thought today was going to be a great opportunity to kind of have like a fire chat type of session. We went throughout the entire country to multiple states. We went to IRS forums, the Latino Tax Fest. We had a bunch of different events, and we got a chance to speak to, tax pros of all backgrounds, big, small bureaus, and we initiated the conversation around cybersecurity because we know it's so important. And there were a lot of misconceptions, a lot of I don't think that there was a lot of awareness of how important this topic really is for the tax pro industry. And so let's kind of like take it all the way back. Why is this topic so important today in 2024 and then actually moving into tax season 2025?
Well, I think one of the most important reasons is that our tax professionals are so incredibly vulnerable. You have these thieves out there, these data thieves out there that really perpetrate on small businesses especially, right? And they have a treasure trove of information. They have financial information, they have SSN information, they have date of birth information. There's so much information out there that is so valuable to them. And if you don't have the right level of security on those laptops where you maintain that information, it is a treasure trove. For these folks. And it is so damaging to the tax professional community as well as the clients that they have.
Yeah, I think that I was actually in one of those events, and I don't know that tax pros understand the severity of what you're saying, to be honest with you. I feel like, there are two maybe schools of thought, like, okay, like, I'm going to get fined by the FTC. I'm going to get like hammered down by the IRS. These are regulations that are coming through. And then obviously it's the fact that, yes, the tax pro is one of the most common victims when it comes to small businesses, right? So for those people that don't understand the severity, like what could be a scenario of a tax pro, maybe like a small tax pro who has like 100 or so clients, where like really like try to like really nail it down, like bring it home, like what could happen to a tax pro if they don't really, take this topic seriously?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up, Emily. Thank you. And with those that have clients that have only about 100 or 200 clients, they're already considered a small business, right? And then they'll probably only have a handful of employees at most. And with small businesses, they typically go out of business the first 2 years, right? If everything is perfect, right? And it's very difficult for a small business to really make it. But now add on top of them getting a potential cyber threat, cyber attack, what does that look like? That can come up to like $84,000 in damages. And let me try to kind of break this down a little bit. $84,000. So what is that? What is that, right? So it's reputational damage. Now people are going to look at you and you're going to kind of be a black sheep in the industry. Like, hey, I don't know if I want to go and kind of have my information held by those folks. And then also now the downtime of doing the forensics, doing the see if you have any backups.
Yes.
If you don't have backups, now you lost your clientele. You're hoping that they're going to give you a call because now you've lost their information.
Oh my goodness.
And so that's that. Now you've lost your whole clientele. You're 100, 200
It's like
clients.
having that call, like, ma'am, we lost your social security number.
It's very embarrassing.
Like that's kind of like a really, really difficult conversation to have.
And then on top of that, now the fines, right? So now you clean up your act. You kind of have your things in order. You're back up and running. You probably went out a full tax season without making any money. That's what, four months out of the year is your main moneymaker.
Yeah.
A third of the year, and then you come back the next year, and now who's going to want to do business with you? And it's a very difficult situation to be in.
Yeah, I think that really drives it home. Like, yes, we can always talk about fines and we can talk about like the penalties, but the cleaning up, the having to show face for these things, even though they're not technically your fault, you're actually a target, right? But now I think that what the IRS and the FTC are doing is really putting accountability on the tax pro to become educated and actually get protected. And so what are some of the things, like maybe we can cover 3 to 5 things that tax pros have to do, like it's not even like should do, you have to do in order to become protected, become shielded?
Well, I mean, one of the things is multi-factor authentication, right? I mean, I think that's very, very important. And I think originally a few years back, people were not so comfortable with it. But you have it everywhere. You have it when you go to your bank. You have it on so many different shopping applications. Sometimes they have multi-factor authentication. And that's a very simple solution and a very simple layer of security that you can add to what you do today. You have your username, you have your password, you add multi-factor authentication onto that, and now you have a much secure sign-in method. And there are applications that are free on the download applications that you can download a multi-factor authentication app for free.
Yep.
You know, simple things for encryption.
Yep.
Right? Encrypting your hard drives or making sure that you have your storing all of your data on an external drive, make sure that's encrypted.
Okay.
If anybody gets their hands on that, they can see everything that you have.
Got it.
So it's just a few things like that. And
what about a third thing?
I think a third thing is also kind of just you can be aware of the environment that you're in. So thieves are always evolving every day. They're coming out with new attack vectors, new mechanisms to attack. Don't be so fast to click on a random link that you don't understand where it's coming from. So if you get weird emails, weird links, always kind of verify the email address that it's coming from. And if it's something in regards to a financial account that you have, like don't use that to trampoline yourself to the website. Yeah. If you're using a bank, go to that bank's website directly and then see if maybe that there is something truly suspicious that's going on in your account, or if it's someone that's potentially trying to phish you.
Because sometimes it's very hard to identify.
Very
right?
hard, yes.
And that's why it's important to double check and to make sure, because sometimes they look so good, like a legitimate email or a legitimate website, that making sure that you take that outside, that external reach to the actual company or the bank, like you're saying, to really make sure that they sent you that information.
When I hear you guys say things like this, I know one of the concerns that I have, when I hear the word encryption, MFA, I think that these are very technical words for tax pros. And I know that we will be talking a lot about Sieben, our cybersecurity product. And one of the things that I think is so valuable about Sieben is the training for the team.
Absolutely.
And the training for the actual business owner to actually understand what is encryption, what is MFA, what are all of these different things, and how to actually apply them for the business. Can you tell me a little bit about that training? Like, what does it include, and how does that actually work, and why is it also important?
Absolutely. Well, I think I want to quote maybe, I don't know, close to 90% of breaches or some kind of cybersecurity error is from a human error, making a mistake. And the training is so important, not only for the owner themselves, but for their employees as well. As Herman pointed out, those emails, very, very important not to click on any kind of link that's suspicious. And, part of that training is phishing training. And that's really what those phishing emails are all about. Yeah. You'll click on something, or maybe it's a document, maybe a taxpayer, you think it's a taxpayer sending you some information, or their prior year tax return. What is this going to cost me? And you click on that, and all of a sudden you have malware on your computer and can see everything, can see your data, can take all that information. There you have a breach. Yeah. So part of the training is to put some drills out there, send some kind of phishing drills, which are emails that look like a good legitimate email. And if you click on it, we'll get a little box and say, you shouldn't have clicked on this, and this is why you should be looking at it. It's kind of like practice. Practice makes perfect. Yeah. So the training includes these drills over and over again to get people used to what to look for, but then also take the action that Herman mentioned and going outside and making sure that you're checking before you're clicking.
I love that. How long are the trainings? Because I'm also thinking like, okay, these tax pros are busy, right? And, some tax pros may not actually have team members. How long are the trainings? How much time should they be allocating to security and like the actual trainings and all of that stuff?
Yeah, so what? The actual training itself is about an hour or so.
Yep.
Wow.
And that's per year. Right? So it's just 1 hour per year just to really, make sure that you understand what the policies of the cybersecurity policies of the business, how to secure data, right? And then we have drills all throughout the year. So the phishing drills go throughout the year.
Yeah.
You have control of that, how many you want to do a year. But like I said, it's practice makes perfect, and it's 1 hour out of the entire year just to get folks familiar with that. It's so important.
I love that you're saying practice makes perfect. And I also think that having the knowledge and educating yourself on this is also part of like the bigger picture. But I also think documentation is a big thing that I know the IRS and the FTC are requiring for tax pros, because it's not just like, oh, I'm going to get educated and go on YouTube and, oh, I'm just going to, practice this, what are the phishing emails? But you also should have an actual plan that is
written
documented,
information security plan.
right? So tell me a little bit about that.
So the written information security plan, it's really a security plan that the IRS has put in place, but it's predicated on what you're saying, the Federal Trade Commission. The FTC has identified that tax preparers, tax software companies are considered a financial institution. Wow. Anybody that handles banking information is really considered similarly to a financial institution. So you have to protect that data. And yes, you can have some sort of plan, but if it's not implemented, it's not worth the paper it's written on, right? So you have to put it in place. You have to have the cybersecurity. You have to have your policies written. And there are insurance agents, even cybersecurity insurance companies, that if you don't have a written information security plan and you have a breach, your claim can be denied.
Yeah.
So now you're not even covered when you thought you were covered.
Yeah.
Yes, you will have penalties that could impact your business financially. You can have the downtime, but the written information security plan is very, very important to have.
Yep. And I love the fact that Sieben also helps with that, correct?
Absolutely
So
do.
tell me a little bit how Sieben comes in and actually helps you with documenting this security plan for your tax
bill. Sure. So what Sieben did is we did take the IRS written information security plan, right? And we took that, and what we did was we added a little more context to it, because a lot of the tax pros, when we work with them, have said, I'm not a cybersecurity expert.
Yes.
I'm a tax preparer.
Yes.
I need a little help here. Yep. And so basically, it's really giving a little more context to help understand what the WISP is requiring, number one. And number two, instead of, having the policies, the NDAs, all of these things that they're requiring in the WISP, we added templates in there. Okay. So you don't have to go searching around looking for, how do I find this? Is this the right document? Is this the right template? We put those in there for you. And then we are also making sure that they have the right revisions. We will help them through it. Wow. If the IRS updates the WISP, we will make sure it's updated, and we'll make sure that our tax preparers have the most updated information.
And to Herman's point, where like the cyber threats evolve every single day, I think that's also important too, right? Because
Absolutely.
Since this evolution is happening every single day, the updates are also going to be very important to be documented. Agreed. As well. I think that this is great information. Going back to like the IRS forums and the Refundo team, walking around and getting to meet the tax pros that are part of our customer base. Mm-hmm. What are some of the misconceptions that maybe you address, Herman? Because I know that you were in multiple of these events and you got the chance to talk to a lot of these people. What were they saying?
Sure. Yeah. So a lot of them were that they store their information in the cloud, that they're safe. There's a misconception that if you just use cloud storage that you're safe from any attack, which is a misconception because, if you're using any sort of email or if you're using any sort of other measure to get your information up to the cloud, now you have a footprint of that file or communication there on your computer. Yeah. Whenever you send anything over if you're uploading anything, you always have some footprint somewhere. Yeah. And so there's even though the cloud might be safe, and I kind of say might with the air quotes, your computer isn't, and if your computer gets infiltrated, then you have a loss of data there.
And you're responsible for making sure that I guess out point, right? Like the computer or the device or the email is actually secure. So
Correct.
if it's not secure, but let's say the cloud software claims that they're secure, it doesn't really matter because there is still that process of actually sending the data out to the cloud.
Absolutely,
correct?
yeah.
Okay.
And you're responsible for that information to be secured, whether you're using a cloud provider or any sort of other service. The sensitive information that you have, you're holding in your possession. You are responsible.
So you guys can't blame it on the cloud software, okay? So you're responsible for that. What other misconceptions do they have, or have they told you?
Yeah. So another one that Teresa brought up is the cybersecurity insurance, where unfortunately we're kind of in a spot with always the bad guys have the advantage. They have all the time in the world. They have all the money in the world to all the resources in the world in order to make attacks or devise a plan.
That's what they do. That's what they're
right.
Yeah.
And so now if you're trying to be kind of defensive, that's what you're in a defensive state. But if you kind of have a plan in place, you're being somewhat proactive and trying to safeguard the information, safeguard the taxpayer information, which is very, very sensitive now. Now that Teresa mentioned it, you're not just a small bodega on the side. Being a tax preparer, now you're a financial institution. Yeah. So the amount of data that you have is just as much as a bank. Yeah. And so you want to be able to kind of safeguard all that information.
I remember you and I talked. I think it was at the event in Las Vegas, but you said something that was really powerful, and it was something along the lines of like having insurance is for like when after the fact. Correct. Right? But you still you're going to go through the repercussions and the consequences of the actual cyber attack.
Yes.
And to your point of the fines and having to make the phone calls to your customers, losing the reputation that you may have. So while insurance is great, that's only good after you actually got
correct the cleanup.
Yes. So you got to impact it. So just to wrap it up, guys, we are actually launching Sieben cybersecurity. Currently, we have it available. We'll put links down below. It is a great solution to kind of help you with everything that we're covering today in this fire chat. If you guys have any questions around cybersecurity, feel free to put them in the comments below. That is going to help us create more content around cybersecurity as a whole. We have an entire thought leadership team behind us in Refundo that is going to make sure that you guys are updated, make sure that you're kept up to date with all the cyber threats and the types that there are. And so make sure that you comment down below and give us some replies and engagement to make sure that we are creating the kind of content that you need. So see you in the next one.